is to achieve a corrupt-free society by preventing, detecting, investigating, and prosecuting acts of corruption through high-performance culture and efficient systems. According to parliamentary documents, the functions of the Commission are to receive and keep on record statutory declarations furnished by parliamentarians pursuant to the Act, to examine such statutory declarations, and to request from a parliamentarian any information relevant to a statutory declaration made by him, which, in their opinion, would assist them in their examination. To make such independent inquiries and investigations relating to a statutory declaration as they think necessary, and to submit an annual report relating generally to the execution of its function to the Prime Minister, who shall cause a copy of the report to be laid on the table of the House of Representatives and of the Senate. Now, over to the proceedings.
Earthquakes can happen at any time. It has nothing to do with the weather. It has nothing to do with the heat. Are you prepared?
What we all need to do is have our preparedness kits ready, just as you would for a hurricane. And this needs to be done year-round. So you need to have your kit with medical supplies. If you are in need of medicine, you have those medications on hand. And general things such as painkillers. You need to have water supply to last you a few days, as well as food that may not require cooking.
Stay prepared.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Jamaica is changing right before our very eyes. Across the island, billions are being invested into our road networks, from farm and community roads to major roads and highways. Dozens of communities across the length and breadth of Jamaica are receiving access to reliable potable water for the very first time. And thousands of Jamaicans have become homeowners thanks to the historic shifts in policies of the National Housing Trust, making it easier for Jamaicans to receive funding. Not to mention the record number of houses being built. Never dreamed you would own a home? No matter your circumstance, home ownership is possible for you, thanks to the government's new social housing program, specially designed to meet the needs of poor Jamaicans at no cost to them. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Jamaica's currency has a fresh new look. Introducing the new $50 note. The new $100 note. The new $500 note. The new $1,000 note. The new $2,000 note. The new $5,000 note. Jamaica's new banknotes, modern, more secure, and made to last.
The Live Good initiative is aimed at promoting healthy, respectful relationships at home, at school, and in our communities. Let's return to the days when members of our communities all participated in rearing our children with kindness, good manners, and discipline. Let's respect each other. Let's become our brother's keeper. Let's replace violence with understanding. Let's all strive to live good.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
What can a little germs do? Pink eye running belly even flu. Germs can make them happen to you.
Put germs and manners with these. Cover your mouth when you cough and sneeze. Always wash your hand with water and soap. Keep dirty hands from your eyes and your nose and your mouth. You don't want to be sick, take care. Practice every day, no germs around here.
Message from the Ministry of Health.
Join us as we navigate this interwoven landscape, discovering how every portfolio and agency under the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation play a crucial role in national development, from housing to land. NWC, why I don't have any water in my tap? To infrastructure and investment. So the government is not giving away any asset.
No, Dini.
All right.
Not at all.
Let's unravel the threads of success as we explore the MEGJC matrix.
More of your money is now tax-free? Know that the income tax threshold has been increased. Your government is looking after you responsibly, so our economy can do even more for you.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
What is the role of a backbencher in government? I'm glad you asked. They're members of parliament who are not appointed to cabinet. So they sit in the back of the legislature and they apply pressure. They examine what government legislates, participate in parliament debates, raise issues and advocate and question chamber when things don't look straight. Backbenchers represent the constituents in parliament. Backbenchers oversee the interests of citizens, you and me. But how can they be agents of government accountability after them no hold a portfolio? And them and a minister? No. So then how can they facilitate government transparency? And the next thing, them and a front bencher. So how them affect me? You see, a lot of work is in committees. So these portfolio-free MPs with less dire responsibilities are more accessible to you and me. So they help with policy, but it helps if we engage them, you see. So they're not just in the back benches, but on the ground, in the trenches. Though in the back of parliament, we're at the front of their cause. So pause. Find your backbencher at jampja.org.
We care about our minimum wage earners. That is why we increased the minimum from the previous increase of 13,000 to now 15,000. And as our economy continues to improve, you can look forward to even more increases. Your government is caring for you.
You know the adage, water is life? Rightly stated, as it supports all living beings. But with the passing of a hurricane, supply may be compromised and properly stored water could just become our lifeline. Step 1. It is best to use food-grade containers to store water. This means that the material used is fit for human consumption and won't have toxic substances entering your water. Step 2. Be sure to wash and rinse the container thoroughly in preparation for water storage. Step 3. After filling the container, be sure to seal it tightly. If it has a screw-on cap, ensure it's tightly closed. This will prevent contamination. Step 4. Also, to prevent contamination, store water in a cool, dark place. This is to minimize exposure to temperature fluctuations, which can degrade the quality of the water and the container. Step 5. Replace stored water frequently to ensure freshness. You may use older water for non-drinking purposes. Step 6. Additionally, you may want to label the containers with the date of storage. This will help you keep track of how long the water has been stored. Step 7. Drinking water containing bacteria and viruses can lead to serious health issues and diseases such as diarrhea, cholera, or dysentery. If you're in doubt as to the state of your drinking water, you may want to apply water purification methods such as boiling to get rid of any bacteria.
Everything's better when you save on a vacation.
More like a savecation.
I love that. Does this sunlight feel sunnier?
Totally. Whoa.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
What can a little germs do?
Pink eye running belly, even flu. Germs can make them happen to you.
Put germs on our manners with these. Cover your mouth when you cough and sneeze. Always wash your hand with water and soap. Keep dirty hands from your eyes and your nose and your mouth. You don't want to be sick, take care. Practice every day, no germs around here.
Message from the Ministry of Health.
So who keeps our taxpayer money in check? Well, the PAC and PAAC help watch over the country's budget. And one might sound like it just have an extra A, but they're way different. Here's how. The PAAC and PAC are two committees that watch the money. The Public Accounts Committee reviews government projects after them close. They do a post-audit check to see what problems arose with the costs and call officials to explain decisions that cause budget mismanagement. And then they recommend corrective action. So the problem will happen from when, not happen again. But what about the money we are spending right now? The PAAC. That's how Public Administration and Appropriations Committee pretty much means how your money will protect as it happen, we check. While projects go on, things are accurate. As government spend the nation's budget, PAAC reviews it. They examine proposals and summon officials to find problems before them don't use it. So the PAC and PAAC are two parliamentary committees that watch over the country's wallet to protect the budget and keep it in check. And you can get involved. Just visit JAMPJA.org.
Happiness of the king, the public weal, peace and tranquility of the island, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estates within the same, in true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
This house is now called to order. Let me, at this time, extend a very warm Jamaican welcome to the delegation of the Parliamentary Network on the World Bank and the IMF on a field visit trip to Jamaica. The Parliamentarian in the Field program aims to provide participants with unique access to World Bank and IMF operation on the grounds. We welcome you all to Jamaica and to the sitting of this Parliament. For those persons who are sitting in the gallery, we do welcome you at this time. Persons who are watching by way of other social media platform and PBCJ, we welcome you once again. Call of the roll.
Mr. Bartlett, Dr. Holness, Dr. Chang, Mrs. Williams, Ms. Grange, Mr. Mackenzie, Mr. Chuck, Mr. Vaz, Dr. Tufton, Mrs. Malahoo Fort, Mr. Green, Mr. Charles Jr., Mr. Matthew Samuda, Mr. Robert Morgan, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Mr. Main, Mr. Davis, Mr. Terrelong, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Witter, Dr. Dunn, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brown Burke, Dr. Charles, Mr. Chin, Mr. Cousins, Miss Crawford, Miss Daly, Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert, Miss Davis, Mr. Golden, Mr. Graham, Dr. Guy, Miss Hamilton, Miss Hannah, Mr. Enriquez, Mr. Henry, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Lawrence, Miss Lee, Mr. Miller, Mr. Montague, Miss Morrison, Mrs. Nita Garvey, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Mikhail Phillips, Dr. Phillips, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Carl Samuda, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Sibley's, Mr. Slowly, Mr. Dwayne Smith, Mrs. Vaz, Mr. Warmington, Dr. Wheatley, Mr. Donovan Williams, Mr. Wilson, and Mr. Wright.
Statement by ministers.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to join you in welcoming members to the sitting of the House, and particularly to welcome our visiting parliamentarians from various parts of Europe and Africa. I noted in my own greeting with them that they represent a wide span of geographical space. And what it says is that the business of parliamentary representation is not confined to any single area. And certainly Jamaica is part of a broader global arrangement that is seeking to advance the cause of building human understanding and a better appreciation of what representation means. Mr. Speaker, you would allow me to invite the member from St. James West Central to make a more fulsome welcome in this honorable house on behalf of all of us, as she played a pivotal role with the World Bank in enabling their presence here today. So with your permission, Mr. Speaker, I will ask the member to so speak. And of course, she will ask to be allowed to speak from a seat other than her own.
Madam Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, House Leader. Thank you for warmly welcoming the delegation from the Parliamentary Network on the World Bank under the IMF. Mr. Speaker, the Parliamentary Network provides a platform for parliamentarians from over 140 countries to advocate for greater accountability and transparency within international financial institutions and multilateral development financing. Founded in 2000, the Parliamentary Network seeks to engage legislators worldwide to improve international economic cooperation and address economic challenges in their home countries and abroad. The Parliamentarians in the Field program aims to provide participants with unique access to World Bank and IMF operations on the ground. Parliamentarians discuss relevant international economic developments and the host country's economic reform priorities. At the end of the visit, the delegation shares its observations from the dialogue with its counterparts in the host country in a comprehensive report. Mr. Speaker, this field visit to Jamaica will allow the visiting members of Parliament to gain a solid understanding of Jamaica's development priorities, particularly related to climate change and how international institutions such as the World Bank and the IMF can support efforts like climate and other macroeconomic challenges. Madam Speaker, the MPs will also share their knowledge, and they have been Mr. Speaker, the MPs have also been sharing their own knowledge about their own country's development experiences. They arrived on Sunday. They've had meetings yesterday, today, and tomorrow they will head out west, Mr. Speaker. Jamaica is an interesting case study on the work done by the fund and the bank in partnership for the development goals of our country and indeed all other member countries. So the delegation comprises parliamentarians from Côte d'Ivoire, Denmark, Ghana, Sweden, France, Denmark, Spain, Canada, Poland, Estonia, Tanzania, Morocco, Luxembourg, France, and we in Jamaica. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I am joined by other members of the Board of Governors. 4 members are here, along with myself as the Vice Chair, and they have expressed their utter delight to be here in Jamaica. Thank you for the opportunity for them to observe the sitting of the Parliament. I've indicated to them that some of the parliamentarians are out, and it's a busy season when we're preparing for the budget. But alongside the parliamentarians are also members of staff from the World Bank, from the IMF in Washington, and from the Parliamentary Secretariat in Paris in the gallery. May it please you, Mr.
Thank you very much, House Leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing that very important addition to this element of our parliamentary agenda. Mr. Speaker, it's such a joy to serve, and it brings such pain and sorrow when services are abrogated or otherwise terminated, whether through acts of God or the Queen's or King's enemies, or indeed by untimely circumstances. This is not an occasion when, Mr. Speaker, we give great joy to make an announcement. But this is a moment when we want to also, in making the announcement, reflect on our own mortality and the fact that as we pass this way, we truly do it but once. And there comes a time when our moment will arrive. And it's an interesting point of reflection. It happens, and we should do it with a full recognition of truly how ephemeral we are, as the grass indeed. In the morning, fresh and blooming, and in the evening, withering away. It is in this context that I bring to the attention of the House the passing of one of our former members, Mrs. Phyllis May Mitchell, a former member for the constituency of St. Catherine Northeastern from the period 1993 to 2001. During her tenure, Mrs. Mitchell served as Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Housing and the Environment, and later as Minister of State in the Ministry of Education and Culture. Outside of the political arena, Mrs. Mitchell was committed to youth development and empowerment. A trained teacher, she was a former principal of the Seafield All Age School and even served as a former senior consultant in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Culture. On a personal note, I met Phyllis not as a member of Parliament, because she served in that narrow interregnum when I had a limited sabbatical. when I had a limited sabbatical. But I knew her as a person because we we worship in the same denominational group. And I think members from St. Catherine South would appreciate that association. And during all of the period that I have known her, Phyllis has been a very humble, very honest, and very dutiful person. As a mother of 3 children, she distinguished herself, caring and sharing and offering the nurture that is so typical of our female species. But she also was a great community person, and that was felt in the areas of northern St. Catherine, where she worked assiduously for a long period of time. And of course, the people rewarded her by asking her to represent them in these hallowed chambers. So we want to extend our sincere condolences to members of her family, her children, I think 3 children, and her immediate and extended families. And that we pray that our loved ones will be comforted by the knowledge that Phyllis has given dedicated and quality service to our nation and our people. May her soul rest in peace and light perpetual shine on her.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also want to join in the greetings that we have extended already to our colleagues who are visiting with us, and we do hope and wish that they will have a pleasant stay and that their stay will not be limited to just the work that they are assigned to do here. But there are many other places the Minister of Tourism can tell you that could entice you a little bit away from the work. I want to join in the tribute that we are paying to our former colleague, Phyllis Mitchell, and a number of my colleagues here who knew her much better than me will be speaking. But you know, as the leader of government business got up to speak and spoke about the fleeting nature of our sojourn here, I just recall one Roger Clark. And Roger Clark, you all know, was larger than life. He's the one who made me famous by carrying 2 phones and spoke at an event. And you know, when Roger Clark, bless his soul, passed, there was a lot of weeping and mourning. And he sat beside me in the cabinet to my right. And I reflected 2 weeks after his funeral. I looked across. Roger was no longer there, but the business of the cabinet continued, because that's the nature of what we do. Nobody is indispensable. So as we today acknowledge the service of Phyllis, We remember her as, I think most importantly, as a teacher, because apart from being a parliamentarian, her first love was to instruct students. And that profession, I think we all inside here have given it even higher regard than what we do, because you're able to effect such transformation and such influence on young minds. And I think that is what she really loved, and she went back to do even after being here. I remember her as well because in all the campaigns subsequent to her leaving here, she was instrumental in some of the work that we did in Northeast St. Catherine. And I can tell you she was a most dedicated, hardworking person. And we want to extend, as you have done already, Leader of Government Business, our sympathies to her families and friends, and of course to our party that has lost another good and faithful servant. May her soul rest in peace and light perpetual shine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I also want to extend a warm welcome to our guests here from the various states in Europe and Africa. Here I'm a bit familiar with. Mr. Speaker, you know, every time we have an occasion like this, on the passing of one of our former colleagues, it, again, as the leader of opposition business said, it reminds us of the fact that none of us are indispensable. And our time here is limited, some longer than others, but certainly will come to an end. Here, and our life come to an end. I happen to probably the only one in the House who have served with her in a governmental capacity, having served together as ministers of state in the Ministry of Education. And she was really a team player. Working with Phyllis, you had someone watch your back and to give you support, and who is always willing to get support, accept support from others. We are indeed from the same parish, St. Catherine, not too far. And so we have worked not only within government together, but we have worked in the political vineyard. She loved the people of her constituency. And few days ago, I had the privilege of joining many of her constituents in Riversdale, where they had a candlelight vigil for her. And it was very touching.
We're proud to offer one of Canada's largest inventories of new vehicles, along with a great selection of quality.
And it ran across the political divide. It was really a family reunion on that evening, that night, to pay tribute to someone who they deemed to be the best member of parliament they have ever had in that country. And much of what they enjoy now is a legacy of her hard work during her tenure. The constituency and the country is better for what Phyllis has offered during her tenure. On behalf of I'm not the only one here from St. Catherine. I've a tendency to want to claim her all for myself. But Phyllis is like that. Phyllis will make you feel like you're the only person. You're extra special. Her warmth, and it was mentioned, her humility was enormous. She loved teaching. As much as she enjoyed the politics, the teaching, I believe, was foremost in her heart. She loved education and she loved children. Mr. Speaker, may her soul rest in peace and light shines perpetually on her. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I too would want to join in welcoming these parliamentarians from all over the globe and to say that I hope your experience here will be so good that you will want to come back over and over again. Mr. Speaker, today I stand with a sense of sadness and joy for a woman who has served this country with humility, honesty, and integrity. I speak of no other than Phyllis May Mitchell. One who, to know her is to love her. Because Phyllis is someone who don't care how serious the situation would be, she would find something to make you laugh out of it. Mr. Speaker, I remembered very well when Phyllis was in court with another, his opponent, her opponent. And the case kept going and going and going. And I was worried. And I said, Phyllis, what is going to happen? She said, you're worried about that? By the time I finish the term, the court not end yet. So don't worry about that. With a big smile on her face. There was another incident, Mr. Speaker. Phyllis met a man for a very short period, and the man told her he was going to have an hardware opening in Mandeville. I don't know if anybody promised Phyllis anything. However, just as what you heard the other speaker says about education, she went and she promised some basic schools, some toilet bowls. And the both of us went to Mandeville with a truck to go and get some toilet bowls from the owner. When we arrived, the man said, I didn't promise you yet, I just tell you I'm going to open the hardware. Phyllis says, so what am I going to do? Because we have transport here. The man said, I have to talk to my wife. It was so good. The wife said, yes. And we left with about 10 toilet bowls so that we was able to furnish the basic schools, both in her constituency and my division at the time because I was a councillor. When you really consider the life and the journey and the work and the commitment of Phyllis Mitchell, it really speaks volume of persons who don't brag, don't boast, but they just continue to do things to build communities. Phyllis was one of those persons. I'm not going to be long, Mr. Speaker, but I remember in the 80s when it was dark on our side, Phyllis was trotting the road with hope that we would be able to regain power. She was an educator, a mother, somebody who loves children, and she would do anything at all to make sure that children stays in school. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, I think the second art training school in St. Catherine went to Geisel, all because of Phyllis Mitchell. I want to say to her family, thank you very much for lending us Phyllis at a time when Jamaica really needed her. May her soul rest in peace and life perpetual shines upon her.
Tony. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I too would like to join in welcoming our parliamentary colleagues from across the world. And because for now I'm the only person from St. Mary, I have to get up to give a tribute. because while Phyllis was from St. Catherine, her home was in St. Mary. And I had the good fortune of living in the same development as her up to 4 years ago. We developed a bond, because not only was she my neighbor by house, but neighbor in constituency as well. And to demonstrate that this lady rose above partisan politics and she was more of a Jamaican and a community person. I remember well the by-election in Mount Industry. And we would travel from St. Mary into Northeast. And every evening, from our side, we would wait for her if we were finished, and she was not. And if she was ready before, she would wait for us. And we all traveled together. And we kept saying to the people in St. Catherine, because we are from St. Mary, we are quite fine when we cross the border, we are all right. Nobody not troubling nobody. But when we reach back into St. Mary, it's a different story. But we were dutiful in making sure she reached home okay, and even dismissed her driver. And Councillor Fitzgerald at the time, the councillor for Port Maria, was appointed her driver. When I became mayor, Phyllis Mitchell was one of the first persons to attend up on the parlor. And we had a conversation. At the time, St. Mary had no tertiary seats. And she appointed herself the education subcommittee of the St. Mary Parish Council and pulled a team around her. And we were able to work with Mani College to get 100 tertiary seats into St. Mary. So and in addition to that, her daughter Nicole, in the field of athletics, represented the country. So Phyllis's life and contribution will always be remembered in St. Mary. She was a community person playing a very strong role in the Stockholm Park Citizens Association. So from St. Mary, we salute a good St. Mary woman adopted and hope and pray that she will rest in peace.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I have to say a few words because Phyllis Mitchell and I entered this parliament in the class of 1993. And I remember that Phyllis was, her seat in this house was subjected to a magisterial recount. And it lasted for quite some time. And I joined my colleague because it was a source of constant joke among us, because Phyllis was, the count went on for quite some time. And Phyllis had gotten quite comfortable taking her seat and was contributing very well in the house. And so from time to time, we'd fret that she would have to leave us. But Phyllis would respond by telling us that she's not worried about that because she'll be here to the end of the term before the count was completed. But that was her spirit. She had a very jovial spirit. Phyllis was never a pessimistic person. Phyllis was always optimistic and always was a source of laughter and levity. So in any situation, Phyllis would find the joys and to keep us all cheerful, even when some of us were seeing things in a much darker mood. I want to acknowledge her service. Phyllis was first and foremost a community person, a person committed to service. And it is a reason why long after she left this house, her reputation and her popularity, her influence was of such in the constituency of Northeast St. Catherine that no election would have been held in that constituency in which Phyllis's role or participation would not be invited and sought after. Her children, She loved them very much. She was very much a family person. And we want to today, remember her family, and particularly her children, and to wish them well, send our condolences, and to say to them that they should be glad. Yes, it's a period of sorrow, but they should be honored. They should be glad that their mother, served Jamaica well. She left her footprint in the sands of time, and we commend her for her service and remember her fondly. Rest in power, Phyllis Mitchell. Walk good. In power.
You never heard that, man?
Never. Mr. Speaker,
It's not new.
the by-election in the Mount Industry Division, which the member from Western St. Mary refers to, was the first assignment I had when I joined the Secretariat in 2003. In fact, we won by about 50 votes. Bolo was the candidate at the time. And that was my real introduction to Phyllis Mitchell. What stands out for me with Phyllis is the tremendous love and affection that the people of Northeast St. Catherine hold for her even to this day. She committed her life to education, but specifically to that constituency. And through over a period of 30 years, really became the mother of that constituency. And that love and affection is expressed not just by those who supported her in the political vineyards, but from supporters of other parties and just ordinary residents who, without any particular affiliation. And it's rare that you find a politician who commands that kind of respect and love from all persons in a constituency. So we give thanks for her service to Jamaica, to her constituents. And as has been expressed, it's been a difficult time on this side. We have lost a number of former members, but they have contributed significantly, and we stand on their shoulders as we try to continue the service to our country. May our soul rest in peace.
Thank you very much. Statement by Minister, House Leader. Oh, sorry, House Leader. Just a moment.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I have to rise and say a few words for my old friend, Phyllis. Phyllis Mitchell did not spend a long time as a member of Parliament, but she made her mark in the hearts of the people of Northeast St. Catherine. It was nothing unusual to be driving along the road and see Phyllis sitting on the side of the road with the people doing work, just chatting. She was a true rural member of Parliament. She had an extraordinary laughter. And no matter how you felt that boy, Phyllis, I'd mouth her all the while and say, you're going to lose, you're not going to win. And she just laughed at me, And it was the most infectious laughter. Those who knew Phyllis cannot help but remember that infectious laughter. She would laugh, you're right, she'd laugh you to shame. And she was always somebody. She used to ask me if I can give her a piece of place that I have up there for football. We tried it, didn't work. But she was someone who was so grateful for anything you did to her. Anything you did for her, any way you could say to her, well, I helped this person and I helped that person and so forth. She was so grateful and gracious. I must say that for me personally, I can't speak for anyone else who interacted with her. I can say that for me personally, I always viewed her with warmth and affection as a person that I liked very much and enjoyed talking to. She spent a good time in the seat, enough to indelibly imprint her mark on the area.
So whatever success may attend the areas that she operated in, that is due to who Phyllis Mitchell was. A nice, kind, reactive to the poor especially, and a very hard-working member of parliament. So I will miss her whenever, a few times that we met after that, but we would stop. If I was going past her, she would stop and we'd have a nice and pleasant conversation. And, you know, it was just a wonderful experience. So may her soul rest in peace and life perpetually shine on her.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to pay tribute, and I won't be very long, to Mrs. Phyllis May Mitchell, former Member of Parliament who served the constituency of St. Catherine Northeast in this honorable house from 1993 to 2001. During Mrs. Mitchell's tenure, when she served as Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Housing and Environment and later as Minister of State in the Ministry of Education and Culture, I got to know her very well. Outside of the political arena, Mrs. Mitchell was committed to youth development and empowerment. A trained teacher, she was a former principal of Seafield All-Age School and even served as a former senior consultant in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Culture. I just want to indicate for the record that she was serious about her politics, very serious about her politics. She was very effective on the ground as a politician, very street smart. And sometimes it was hard to keep up with her. Everywhere, everywhere I turned, although she was not in my constituency, but at events, she was always there. And when I tell you she was passionate about her politics, that I always said to her, boy, Phyllis, you don't stop, eh? But we really shared a wonderful relationship. And I saw her as a very faithful and loyal individual to her cause. So today I want to just extend my sincere condolences to members of her family, and particularly to her son, who works as Director of Corporate Services in one of the agencies which falls under my jurisdiction. May her soul rest in peace.
House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on the item statement by ministers, and I would invite you to follow the agenda as stated. There are two ministers slated to make statements. The Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, and the Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. I had indicated earlier that the order would be in the manner that I spoke, but I invite you to reverse that order and to invite the member from Clarendon North Central and Minister without portfolio to make a statement.
Will the member from Clarendon North Central, you may take the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I will rise to give an update on some important developments regarding the Spark program. Yes, it's an honor to address this House to provide this update on it. Yes, implementing the Shared Prosperity through Accelerated Road Network Improvement Program. which is our government's strategic initiative to modernize Jamaica's road infrastructure and enhance economic growth. Earlier today, well, just now, members of Parliament would have received official correspondence from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation outlining their respective allocations under the SPARK program. This initiative, the SPARK program, represents a major national investment in road rehabilitation, prioritizing roads vital to economic activity, community access, and safety. So this is referred to as Work Order 1. The first phase of the SPARK program, Work Order 1, consists of 42 road projects spanning 21 consistencies across 8 parishes. I'm pleased to report that China Harbour Engineering has received the project scope and has commenced preliminary site visits. Work is scheduled to begin this week in the corporate area. This week? Yes, with rehabilitation projects starting in the following constituencies. So we have Everest Drive, which started already. The leader of opposition business can confirm. Then we're going to have Bellevue Avenue in Kingston East and Port Royal. In Kingston Western, we're starting Bustamante Highway, North Street from King Street to Crab Ground. In St. Andrew East Rural, we're starting Passion Gardens and Bayview Retreat. In St. Andrew Eastern, we're doing Buttercup Drive, Doherty Drive. In St. Andrew North Eastern, Ligani Avenue and Richings Avenue. St. Andrew North Central, Upper Aries and Orange Grove Road. St. Catherine, we have in St. Catherine Southeastern, Maho Drive, Susan Avenue. In St. Catherine Eastern, we have New Nursery and Jones Avenue. In St. Catherine East Central, we have Ransford Close and Jasmine Close. In St. Catherine South Central, we have Willowdean Drive and Arlington Road. In Manchester North,
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need. With full,
well, Manchester Northwestern, that was. And in Manchester Central, we have Bam Staple and Berwick Town. Yes. You want to wait until I finish? In St. Elizabeth Southwestern, we have Schoolhouse to Ditigent and Richpen Road, Hounslow. In St. Elizabeth Southeastern, we have Trial and Galetown. In St. Elizabeth Northeastern, we have Coffee Lane and Brighton. In Portland Western, we have Black Hill, Rodney Hall, Whitegate. In Portland Western, we have Canewood Road. In Portland Eastern, we also have Naylor's Hill, and we'll discuss that, Anne-Marie. And we also have East Islington Road. In St. Mary Central, we have Belfield Line Road and Belfield Penn Road. In Trelawney Northern, we have Church Street to Gravel Hill and Perth to Sherwood. And in Trelawney Southern, we have Penn Road to Stetton and Smith Hill. I will discuss with colleagues any discussions they wish to have. So that is Work Order 1 at approximately 1.9. So that is Work Order 1 at a value of $1.911 billion. And we're actively assessing other additional roads to commence in the coming weeks. Now, for what colleagues are really interested in, Work Order 2, which will cover 42 additional roads across 21 constituencies, is expected to commence in late February. And Work Order 3, which is another 42 roads across a final 21 constituencies, is scheduled to begin in early March. At the end, all constituencies will get an initial 2 spark roads before the end of the financial year. in this financial year, we will begin about 126 critical roadways across Jamaica, improving connectivity, easing congestion, and strengthening community resilience. We expect that by April, we will start seeing the completion of our first set of Spark roads, which this tranche, and we expect that these 3 work orders will be completed by June of this year. To ensure accountability and efficiency, the Ministry of Economic Growth will strictly oversee project timelines, contractor performance, quality standards. Additionally, we encourage members of Parliament and local stakeholders to remain engaged in the monitoring process, ensuring that all communities benefit fully from this initiative. Mr. Speaker, this is the next chapter of Jamaica's development. With the Spark program, we are not just fixing roads, we are building pathways of opportunity. This initiative is an investment in the future of our citizens and a demonstration of the government's unwavering commitment to national development. Mr. Speaker, I also want to update the House on an important development that has taken place. It is related to the Accelerated Bridge Program. This program is a strategic national effort to enhance connectivity, improve public safety, and facilitate economic growth by constructing and rehabilitating key bridges across the island. The initiative was further strengthened on January 23 with the signing of a framework of cooperation between the Government of Jamaica, Accra Global Limited, and Legan Aviation and Infrastructure Limited. This agreement establishes a collaborative and structured framework for the implementation of the Accelerated Bridge Program. Under this framework, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the National Works Agency, Accra Global Limited, and Legan Aviation and Infrastructure have aligned efforts to ensure the seamless execution of the project. It entails the installation and upgrading of 54 bridges across the island. This includes 44 permanent vehicular bridges, 3 permanent pedestrian bridges, and 7 emergency use bridges. You want the names? Everybody excited for the names, right? The government of Jamaica has recognized this as a priority project within the government of Jamaica, government-to-government framework of cooperation with the UK Export Finance. This collaboration allows access to financing mechanisms that will accelerate implementation to ensure cost-effective execution. Under this program, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation is the buyer and project overseer. The Ministry of Finance, led by the Honorable Member from St. Andrew Eastern, is the borrower responsible for securing funding. The NWA is the implementing agency ensuring technical and structural integrity. Legan is the principal contractor responsible for execution, and Accra is the specialist bridge supplier ensuring high quality structures. The initiative is more than just about infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. It's about people. The bridges under this program will enhance connectivity in rural and urban communities, reduce travel times, boost economic activity, and provide safer crossings for residents. Some of the key bridges, not all, that will be constructed include Shooting River Bridge in St. Thomas, Pedro River Bridge in Clarendon, Black River Bridge in St. Elizabeth, Rio Cobre Dam Pedestrian Bridge in St. Catherine, with an additional 7 emergency bridges. I could, as colleagues request, read some of the bridges, but not all, because it's over 50 bridges. So we have the Bushy Park Bridge, Richmond Prison Bridge, Eden Bridge, Silver Hill Bridge, Wakefield Bridge. Well, this is Portland. Silver Hill Bridge, Wakefield Bridge, Bible Bridge, Sheephole Bridge. These are some of the bridges in Portland. St. Thomas has bridges such as Ramble, Shooting River Bridge, White River Bridge. In St. Elizabeth, you have places like the Wyse Bridge, John River Bridge, Black River Bridge. I gave it in the folder. We also have in St. James, John's Hall Bridge, Patos Bridge, Black Shoot Bridge, Crooked Spring, well, Black Shoot, what is it called? Black Shop Bridge, Crooked Spring Bridge, Sunderland Bridge, and so on. In Westmoreland, we have First Bridge, Jackass Bridge, and I cannot read all of them. We did not determine the bridges based on constituency. And we also have some pedestrian bridges, for example, the Rio Cobre Dam pedestrian bridge, the Port Maria pedestrian bridge, and the pedestrian Pedro River bridge. Mr. Speaker, as part of our next chapter of development, the Accelerated Bridge Program represents our unwavering commitment to building modern, resilient, and efficient transportation networks. We're not just constructing bridges, but building connections, empowering communities, and strengthening Jamaica's foundation for future growth. We're poised for success with strong partnerships established under this framework of cooperation. This initiative is a testament to our government's ability to mobilize resources. Just 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, the member's time for speaking having been expired, I beg to move that his time be extended by 3 minutes to allow him to complete his presentation. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
The request is on the floor for the extension of the minister's time. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it. Minister, you have an additional 3 minutes.
I only need 30 seconds. Mr. Speaker, we are poised for success with strong partnerships established under this framework of cooperation. This initiative is a testament to our government's ability to mobilize resources, leverage strategic partnerships, and execute transformative projects that benefit all Jamaicans. We are building bridges, Mr. Speaker. We're building bridges to a stronger, more connected Jamaica, one step at a time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we on this side, even though late in the original date of the execution of the Spark program, which we were told that would have started in December, we are still happy to know that it is now becoming a reality. Mr. Speaker, the question was asked of the Prime Minister last week, and I was hoping that the Minister would have been able to give more information, because we are hearing about the quantities of roads that should be repaired or rehabilitated under the Spark program. But it would be good to know the amount of kilometers of roads that will be rehabilitated under the Spark program. And why I'm asking for the kilometers of road, Mr. Speaker, why we are asking for the kilometers of road, Mr. Speaker, is because the Spark is being promoted, and I know that each member of Parliament in here, especially the 49 on that side, have been especially the 49 on that side, who behaves like hypocrites when they are ready. No, because they themselves, Mr. Speaker, have been asked the question as I have, and those of us on this side.
Point of order.
I rise.
Turn your mic on.
The member to clarify when he says they on that side. I'm sitting on this side. I'm on a part of the 49, and I've never ever engaged the member on that side in any conversation as it relates to any policy relating to roads, etc. So I'd like the member to be clear, very, very clear, and that is a point of order.
So there are many on that side, Mr. Speaker, who, Mr. Speaker, and seriously, members, the question has been asked by constituents if all the roads in the constituencies will be repaired under the Spark program. Relax, no, member, because Spark is being promoted as the answer to all the bad roads that we have in the country. And out of the 30,000 kilometers of roads that we have island-wide, then it would be good for the country to understand how many of that 30,000 kilometers of road will be repaired and rehabilitated under Spark. So it's just a simple question. Mr. Speaker, I crave your protection, Mr. Speaker, from the members. It's just a simple question, member. All right. Now, Mr. Speaker, question I would like to ask the minister from his statement.
Hold a minute, member. Member, you ask for protection on more than one occasion. But if you continue to cross-talk with those who are heckling, then I can't protect you. Please.
So, Mr. Speaker, in the statement from the minister, and I have to say publicly, on behalf of my constituency and constituents of Northwest Manchester, that we are in the first phase of the work order #1 that should be started anytime soon. But I want to ask the minister, Mr. Speaker, because it speaks of, I know that China Harbor is the main contractor for the Spark program, but will there be subcontractors that will be engaged in this first work order? And at what point will we as members of parliament know who those subcontractors are that will be working in our constituencies? Information is key, Mr. Speaker, so that we can move forward. Because if work order #2 is to come,
Mr. Speaker, I know the member really is asking a question of the minister who made a statement. Is it? Or he already spoke on that? Okay, fine. So I would ask for the member to be given additional time based on your discretion, Mr. Speaker.
The request is on the floor for an extension of time for the member. Those in favor? Those against? Member, you have 2 minutes, 2 minutes in which to complete your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, Mr. Speaker, as through you, Mr. Speaker, the issue of the subcontractors, or is it that China Harbor will be taking on the work order number one by themselves? It would be good to have that information. And when will that information be given to each member of parliament and the public at large? In the second statement given by the minister, the bridge program, Mr. Speaker, this is welcoming news, if I'm to be fair, because the issue of our bridges has been a long-standing and one that has been a thorn in our sides. And we, on this side also, would like to say thank you to the cooperation of United Kingdom Export Finance and the government for this program that will touch some 54 bridges. The question that I would like to know is how many more bridges that we have out there that will not be touched by this program? And will there be a continuity? Because part of the issue that we have had, Mr. Speaker, is that we have not put enough in the budget just for maintenance of the bridges. And will this, moving forward, will we see an increase in the budget of maintenance for the bridges, and what will happen to those that will not be affected by this program? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Sorry, Minister, would you want to take, because I suspect that there's another member who wants to ask a question. Would you want to?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to the member for his questions. Oh, I have it. So, Mr. Speaker, we distributed a letter signed by me through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, which basically outlined to each member what their allocation is. It also outlines how the project will be executed and gives them guidance as to the implementation process of the Spark program. You would remember, Mr. Speaker, that we had consultations in every single constituency across Jamaica where roads were chosen in the consultative process by residents with their MPs and councillors in consultation. And then a subset of those roads, 10, were chosen by each constituency, which gave us a total of about 630 roads, which form the whole of the expected Spark program execution. Of those 630 roads, based on the $45 billion budget that we have taken out a portion of it, probably about 6 or 7, that we're planning to implement in this financial year and the next financial year. Does not mean that the other 3 that are left are not going to be fixed, but that has to come in another financial year. We've been very transparent and very open. So the question that the member asked is how many kilometers of roads? I do not have that information. What I have is how much money is going to be spent in your constituency to fix 6 or 7 roads to impact the residents and citizens of your constituency, to fix the roads that they chose to fix. You ask about subcontractors. The Spark program was the subject of an international tender process where persons bid and China Harbor came out as the winner of the bidding process. The contract with China Harbor stipulates that they must engage local contractors in each package to execute the works. Now, we as the NWA cannot interfere with the contract and tell China Harbor which contractor to engage. What we can say is that it is mandatory that local contractors are engaged, and we know that China Harbor is currently in discussions with numerous contractors all across the island in every parish to engage them to participate in the Spark program. which is why we also have a consultancy contract, which is separate from the Spark contract, where each of the 4 packages has its own consultant, not the same. No consultant can have more than 2 packages. An independent person to oversee the quality of work to ensure that the Spark program is executed effectively. The third question the member asked is about the bridges. It is no secret, Mr. Speaker, that Jamaica has had challenges with bridges over the decades. Most of our bridges, or some of our bridges, are over 100 years old. We'll give the example of the Troy Bridge, which was over 120 years old, which collapsed due to old age. And they never fixed it. It is for this reason, Mr. Speaker, that the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation engage with our UK partners to come up with this program, which is one of the largest bridge building programs. This is one of the largest bridge building programs Jamaica has ever had in its independent history. Jamaica has over 800 bridges, Mr. Speaker. And this program is not the last program. Just as though the Spark program is not the last program that we'll be using to fix roads. Since I have been minister without portfolio, Mr. Speaker, since I have been minister without portfolio, I have presided with the leadership of the Prime Minister in an almost $50 billion investment in our road infrastructure. No other minister or no other government has put more money in roads than this administration under this Andrew Holness Prime Minister. So it's something we are proud of, Mr. Speaker. We are proud of the investment we are making in roads, and we know the people will benefit and they will reward us for that benefit. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, can I seek your protection, sir?
Members, the member is on his feet.
Mr. Speaker, before the minister, hold on. Before the minister got up to speak, I got a WhatsApp message from the pastor of one of the largest churches in my constituency. So he asked me, when are you going to address Swallowfield Road and North Avenue? I responded to him and I said, Swallowfield Road is on the Spark program and the North Avenue is on the REACH program. So I'm going to tell you the dilemma I have because I've read the statement from the minister. Southeast St. Andrew. So the NWA would have done the estimates of the 10 roads that I submitted. I've been given my budget of 221 million. What I would like to know from the 10 that I submitted is how many of the 10 can be done within the budget. And I'm going to explain why. If the budget can only do 6, right, then the other 4, I'd probably put under REACH, so we can get them done too. But I must confess, even with this statement here, I can't tell anybody when any of my roads will start. Yeah. I have submitted the full list of my REACH programs. Estimates have been done. So what I'm asking the minister to do, for me as an MP, and I think all MPs would want to know, let us know based on the estimates which roads can be done based on the estimates and the allocation per constituency, so that we can then determine for the ones we know that cannot be done, how we treat with them. And we can at least tell our constituents. Yeah, so we can do some patching, for example. So if it's not going to be done in this financial year, we can do some patching until you can fully do it in the next financial year. But even with this statement, I can't say anything definitive because I don't know whether come the next phase, I'm in phase 2 or phase 3. And I don't know whether even in those phases, the 2 of the 10 that I submitted are going to be the 2 that definitively would start. So what I'm asking for is some greater certainty that will allow me as the MP to communicate with my constituents and say, in April or May, these 2 roads going to start. And if only 6 of the 10 can be done, I know these 6 going to be done, another 4 in the next financial year, and I can try use an allocation from somewhere else to do some patching. But I can't do anything, quite frankly, with the information provided by the minister. Secondly, before you answer, on the issue of the bridges, could you indicate what the total cost of the rehabilitation of the bridges that you have announced and the time frame for which those bridges are going to be done?
And it's just 2 quick questions.
Very much for giving me the time. No, I think it's an important question you ask, and I'll use your constituency as an example. So what we have done is that when you gave us the 10 roads, many of the roads had to be designed. We had to decide whether they needed pipe works, sewage, and so on. Of your 10 roads, we are currently in the process of designing or have designed 8. And this is information I can give to each of the members of parliament. And allow me to, could you allow me to finish? We can learn something, you know. So for example, your budget that you have been allocated based on your kilometer is $221 million. All your roads except Antrim and Friendship Park come up to $215 million. So you're going to be able, with this budget, to do 8 of your 10 roads. The only road that you have that require pipe works is Friendship Park Road. They have not done that assessment as yet. I'm telling you what I have here. So, and this is information that can be made available to each member of parliament.
Wayfair helps all of us create a home we love.
The Wayfair vibe at our place is Western.
But we all got our own thing.
Drama.
Glamour.
Gardening.
In the Wayborhood, there's a place for all of us.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
You asked the question about the budget for the bridges. The budget is $100 million for 55 bridges. $100 million. The bridges will be finished probably in the next 12 months, 12 to 15 months. We are starting in another 6 months, right, Minister? The project is about 6 to 8 months away in terms of procurement and implementation and so on. Part of the reason why we went this direction is that the procurement process is much shorter. It's a partnership between Jamaica and the UK. So they deal with the funding, they deal with the engagement of the producers of the bridges and so on. And then they also engage someone else to install the bridges when they come to Jamaica. There's no local procurement, but there's a process to build the bridges, design the bridges. So the bridges, some bridges are longer than some bridges require different types of abutments. No, it's not a procurement delay. All right. Yeah. What I'll do is I'll send an addition to the letter to outline to each member of parliament what their budget is and what are the roads. But I want to caution though, member. I want to caution, hold on, I want to caution. The budget that I have for your roads. For example, your roads are easy to Fitz, I need you to listen. It's important. Don't come next week and say you never hear because you did a talk. So for example, let's say Juliette Cuthbert. She may have retaining walls on the road, right? That may eat up some of the budget for her roads. So while I say the budget is 300 and you're getting 8 roads, when we're designing the road, we might come up on things that might cause the budget to change. All right. No problem.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Minister, about a week and a half ago, they called probably text or send emails stating that we should look at 2 party roads to do now. And I sent in my 2. What is on the list here now does not reflect what I sent in. So I would... No, in work order 1. Oh, no, my constituency is in it. But I'm going to say something else, Minister. It's 2 other roads that is you could just look at them as a little lane. So I would want you to do as yes. So, and those are 2 small roads in comparison to the others out of the 10. But Minister, I want you to just be around and listen to me just for a minute. We have a
Madam Member, please question. We're using up the time.
No man. But that the minister is trying to figure out what he is to say. So I'm just saying, let me finish. Yes. Minister, Jamaica heard about sparks, and we had consultation all over the country. I'm going to ask of you now to communicate effectively to the citizens of this country about the process in which sparks will take on, because we are getting pieces. And each time you go back in the constituency, they keep telling you what and what you're not doing, because that is why nothing is happening for your constituency. I am going to ask, and I think it will augur well for all of us in here, to have one statement coming out, not to hear that the East Central will be getting this, no, and West Central will not be getting that, no. It's going to create confusion, and it's going to look like there's a level of biasness. You have to find a clear message so that every Jamaican will understand what we are doing in here and what Sparks is all about.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So one of the challenges that we have, about 15 of the roads that were chosen by members were not designed, and you fell into that category. So you chose Walk Avenue, New Nursery, and Jones Avenue. Is that correct? No, what I'm saying is based on the records I have.
2 persons cannot be on the...
The point I'm making is
2 persons cannot be on their feet.
We can resolve that after, but so one of the challenges that we had is that some of the roads that were chosen by members were not, the designs were not complete. So we had to choose 2 other roads that the designs were complete. It about 50 ones that were chosen, but the ones where the designs were ready. 15 out of 42 is not a significant number. As it relates to communication, member, I would encourage you to visit the sparkjamaica.gov website, where we have put all the information and updates on the Spark program on the website. Additionally, we are. So you don't want to visit the website? You don't think the website is useful? So let me explain. The process of communication is multifaceted. It's not just about what is said here by the Prime Minister or myself in statements, where we have given an exhaustive outline as to what Spark is, what it represents, and how your citizens can benefit. It also takes into consideration local communication by members like yourself who sit here and listen to the information and can take it back to your communities. You can also follow Spark on social media where information is also on social media. It's also on the website. And additionally, we're about to start some radio programs to give relevant information to the public on Spark. Underground communication is also important. Before we start the roads, we also have community meetings in the various communities to outline to the persons in the community what this road means for them, how it is going to impact them, and how they can participate in the development of the program. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have two just very quick questions, Minister. One has to do with Oakland Crescent, which is one of my priority roads. I stepped out for a moment, so forgive me if I'm asking a question that you might have answered before. I know I'm not in priority one, work program one, but I think it is absolutely important for citizens to be able to follow and to understand what's holding it up, when is it expected, even in terms of what the cost is, so persons have an understanding of what is happening. Minister, I really don't believe that as a member of this parliament, when a question is asked, you can send me to the website. I believe that there needs to be closer communication between the offices that are doing these programs and the members here as the people's representative. The truth is that the level of technological penetration, you send us to the website, which means that you're sending all Jamaicans to the website as well. And I believe that we need to understand that we don't have that level of technological penetration to be sending everybody to the website. I believe a little bit more is required than that. So that's one. Second, the second question. No, I am here. They're watching me, so we can talk to you about it. The second question really has to do with what I haven't seen here. I'm trying to speak through the noise coming from Southwest St. Catherine. The first one I spoke about was Oakland Crescent. But the other question that I have really relates to Newport, to Kingston Wharves and the roads down there. The last time the Prime Minister spoke, he was very vague about what would happen to those roads. And here I'm speaking on behalf of my constituents because they form part of the broader constituency. I want to make sure, Minister, that the meager, in terms of what it can do, $212,000 allocated to Southwest St. Andrew is not going to be the meager in terms of what it can do and the demand that is there, that it is not million. Did I say thousand? No. I'm sorry. No, I misspoke. I want to make sure it is not appropriated and placed in Kingston Wharves to do the roads that are there. I believe, though, that the roads that are there need, and I'm asking you, Minister, to pay some attention to Kingston Wharves, yes, to pay some attention, to have some discussion around the strategic importance of the ports to the economy, and therefore what collaboration can be made in terms of having those roads done. You can say, Mr. Speaker, I am not always able to wade through the noise by the member from Southwest St. Catherine and his attempt to distract me and to take me off message and to bully me. And I have told him before that I am not taking his bully easy. I am not taking it. So I'm going to ask you whether you do it now or you do it later, or the other member does it at standing committee when you meet, that you tell him to hop off from offender.
Members, whenever you are given the time to speak, the speaker will turn your mic on. You address the speaker and you speak through the mic. So nobody that is sitting down and their mic is not on, you should not listen to them. Concentrate on your narrative. All right, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So, I mean, we dealt with the communication issue. I did not say just go to the website. I said there are a myriad of other communication tools, such as radio we're going to be using, TV. We have made many statements in here. We have sent you letters. You can call me at any time, Angela, and ask the question, and I will answer it. Member Burke. Now, the other question you asked was about Oakland Crescent. But let me answer that question last. You asked about Kingston Wharves. I can update the House that we received correspondence from the Shipping Association of Jamaica. I engaged them in meetings. We have come to a solution as to how to assist them with the roads on the wharf. The roads, as the Prime Minister said, there are some roads that have never been handed over. They're essentially no man's road, basically, but they do provide a public service. So the government will be partnering with them. They will be contributing some of the resources. We will be contributing some to do a significant repair of the roads in that area. The other question you asked is that initially, each constituency under Spark was going to get $150 million. When we looked at it, we felt that it was inequitable. So we increased it to $200 million. And then we have another portion of money based on the length of roads in your constituency. So you, in you're southwestern St. Andrew, right? You have 72 kilometers of roads. Compared to the member from Trelawney, who has almost 800 kilometers of road. So your allocation is based on the length of roads that you have, compared to another member who has almost 10 times as much. So we are very transparent, member. We are not, this program is not about politics. This program is about the people, right? And I will not allow, member, anyone
Point of order, Minister. Point of order.
Interact with this program.
Let us hear your point of order.
Mr. Speaker, the Speaker is misleading the House. The Speaker, you know who is the Speaker? The person who is speaking. This person who is speaking over there is misleading the House in the response that he gave, because nowhere did I intimate that there was any political distribution. I said 212 million, meager in terms of what it can do. That's what I said. And that's my opinion. And I'm entitled to it. And I do not want to be misrepresented.
Thank you for that, member. So the opposition will not be politicizing Spark, and I'm very happy that you have given us that assurance. You asked about Oakland. Member, you asked about Oakland Crescent, which was Oakland Crescent was your priority road, member. The reason you did not get Oakland in work order.
Member from West Rural, St. Andrew. Member from West Rural, St. Andrew.
Member, the part of your challenge in your constituency is that a majority of your roads require pipe works. A majority of your roads require pipe works. So Oakland, Bartley Lane, Caribbean Palms, Brotherton, Waltham, all require pipe works. Your priority roads were Oakland Crescent and Freeman Lane. Oakland Crescent requires pipe works, and we have yet to design Freeman Lane. But And that's a challenge because the pipe works, as you will understand, will take an extensive amount of work and an extensive amount of time. So what we had to do was we had to look at 2 roads that you sent up as among your 10, which we could start now so that your people can have the benefit of Spark. Thank you very much.
Member from West Portland.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, member, for that update on Spark. And let me just say that I do agree with the colleague members of Parliament in relation to the communication in relation to Spark. I think that the fact that the parish offices are not involved in Spark, and it is the head office of NWA, that there should be somebody specified in the head office to be able to deal with us as member of Parliament. Secondly, I want to say I'm very, very heartened by the bridge program, but I realize that there must be a parallel bridge program because I don't see anything as it relates to the continued funding for the Troy Bridge and the Craigmill Bridge. And my best information would tell me that those are a part of a separate bridge program that is going to be carried out by the National Works Agency. So before my constituents block me from coming to the constituency tomorrow because they have not seen Craigmill, I want to assure them that Craigmill is on another program that is far advanced, that is going to be funded through central government in the allocation of the 25-26 budget. I'm also very happy to see the other bridges that are in Portland because the infrastructure and the bridges, like many of you have, are very old. So I would like to say definitively, member, that I would like for you to be able to provide me as member of Parliament for West Portland specific information in relation to the Craigmill Bridge and the process that is in parallel with, which hopefully will actually be started before this program, as this program is just going through the processes of the agreements with the UK, etc. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to raise to the attention of the Minister and the NWA. Portland has been receiving rain consistently from before Beryl.
Member. Yes, I turned the mic off because you're making a presentation and not question. So please, get to the question.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Just to say that the scoping of the SPARK program, and this is a question that was done months ago, has been thoroughly interfered with by weather events. And therefore, I'm asking whether or not we can look and discuss with the NWA the current situation in relation to probably prioritizing other roads that have been worse damaged as a result of the rain, rather than going with what obtained a year ago when we did the consultation. Remember, you haven't heard one thing I say, you know. Remember, I would prefer if you would give me the respect to listen to what I'm saying. It's a major point for me. And I'm saying, I'll repeat it again, that the scoping of the roads for Spark with the weather events
Mr. Speaker, I must say, Mr. Speaker, that I'm very disturbed and grieved. It is totally out of character for a minister to speak on a statement of another minister. I have never seen this in the umpteen years I've been here. Totally breach of protocol for a minister to ask next minister question in Parliament or to speak on the issue of another minister. Totally unacceptable and breach of protocol.
Minister Morgan, do you wish to respond?
I want to thank my colleague, Cabinet Minister, for raising those important points. And I want to say that to all members of the House, all 63 of you, Natalie, I want to say to all 63 members that I've always had an open door policy. I've always encouraged communications from the National Works Agency and all the agencies that I oversee as minister. And you can always reach out to me for as necessary information as you may need. I will engage with my colleague about the concerns that he has raised to see how we can find solutions for them. I did communicate to him that the bridge of which is concerned to his constituents, that we have another program that is ongoing where that bridge will be a part of the program. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
House. Next person.
A very brief question, Mr. Speaker. Minister, can I obtain, or any member of parliament, obtain information, updates, etc., from the NWA's parish office on either the Spark program or the REACH program?
Remember, the Spark program is not a program run through the parish office of the National Works Agency. The Spark program is a program which is subject of a tender where a contractor was engaged and consultants were engaged.
Skyscanner's a beaut. Searches billions of prices, so we always find epic deals on the best hotels.
Unlike the Gong Show motels he usually books.
Ouch, Moms.
That one place was pretty bad, Gabe.
Data without context doesn't tell the full story. Understand why with SurveyMonkey.
Leadership in the constituency and consult with them as to what are the issues they have, the questions they have, and you are supposed to appoint. Some members have already been engaged to appoint a liaison who can liaise between the contractor and the political leadership of the constituency. You may not have been engaged as yet because they have not reached to your constituency, but that is the protocol. You had another question, I suspect.
On the first question, it is my understanding that the NWA is responsible for the entire road, the main road network. And to the extent that you engage private contractors, I would want to believe that your local representative would at least carry out some supervisory function on behalf of the NWA. And where's the usual source of communication, at least for me?
Remember, it would be a duplication of efforts. Not only did we do a contract for Spark, but we also did an international tender for supervisory management of the Spark program, separate from NWA. So we have appointed, through the procurement process, 4 supervisory groups, 2 from Stanley and 2 from 2 other companies, to supervise the 4 packages that are included in Spark. The parish offices do not have the capacity or the staff to monitor the Spark program, which is why we had to do what we did. As it relates to the REACH program, yes, your parish office should have conversations with you about REACH. But as I said before, you can always reach out to me or my office with any questions or queries that you may have if you're not getting the responses that you think you should get.
Minister, in the case of Western St. Andrew, I can appreciate that with the pipe works that needs to be done, that is not in order, one. But what can you assure that the NWC, the work that is to be performed by NWC, is being coordinated with or being on the NWA? Well, let me ask a question. Who has the role to ensure that that work is being done in time for that to be on the next list, or certainly by the third order? Who has that responsibility?
So the National Works Agency and the National Water Commission are a part of the same ministry, so we collaborate and coordinate closely with each other. The challenge we have with the pipe works why we have not been able to start the piping is because of the procurement process. We have made a decision to ask the enterprise contractor to procure the pipes, as it will shorten the time and become much easier. So I suspect that within the next couple of months, we'll be able to start pipe work because the pipes would have arrived in Jamaica. When you order pipes, you have to order the pipes, you have to pay for them, you have to wait several months for the pipes to be produced and then come into the country. So that process is ongoing as we speak right now. The supervisory role, as I said, is that we have engaged some supervisory consultants. We are overseeing as well in terms of the overall project at NWA, but we have hired reputable companies to do the supervision of the pipe works.
Quick follow. Minister, I understand the generality of the response, but in this house, it's on record that with respect to West St. Andrew, because of the particularities of the commitments that have been given, that the pipes will be allocated to ensure that those work continue and not to be part of some distant procurement program. Not asking a question. Shut your.
Thank you very much. Member, we'll speak after, because your situation is very peculiar where every single road in your Spark program requires extensive pipe work, right? And not only that, but your roads are important to other constituencies as it's essentially a hub. So let us speak after. Thank you.
House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I invite you to ask the member from St. Louis. Mr. Speaker, I invite you to ask the member from St. Elizabeth Southwest and Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries to make a statement.
Will the member from St. Elizabeth Southwestern now rise and take the floor?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members of this House, it is now clear that with the change in climate, extensive droughts are now part and parcel of the challenge our sector faces. Our approach,
Member.
Yes.
The copies for the. You may continue while it is distributed.
No problem. Our approach, Mr. Speaker, however, has transitioned over the years from being reactive to being a proactive government that puts measures in place to help our farmers face the drought before it emerges. Today, Mr. Speaker, I will speak on the ongoing dry period affecting our agricultural sector and rural communities across Jamaica, as well as the shifts we're seeing in the prices of our fruits and vegetables. The December 2024 rainfall report tells an important story, one that highlights the challenges our farmers continue to face. While no parish, Mr. Speaker, has experienced what is defined as meteorological drought, it is important to recognize that 7 of our 13 parishes recorded below average rainfall, with values ranging from 53 to 85% of their 30-year climatological means. Members, this means that 7 parishes got lower rainfall than their 30-year average. This shortfall in precipitation has resulted in challenging conditions for our agricultural sector, particularly in areas that have recorded consistently low rainfall. The impact of this deficit is particularly concerning for farmers who rely on regular and sufficient rainfall to sustain their crops and livestock. Even in cases where some parishes experience wetter than normal conditions, disparities in rainfall distribution have led to inconsistencies in water availability. Farmers in parishes such as Portland, St. Mary, Kingston, and St. Andrew, they saw increased wetness, and as such, they may not immediately feel the strain. However, in most of our western parishes, including Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, and Hanover, and central parishes of Manchester and Clarendon, they saw rainfall levels below December 2023 and below their 30-year average. Unfortunately, as we know, members, these are some of our most productive parishes. Mr. Speaker, recognizing the urgency of the situation and the potential impact of drier months ahead, particularly this month of February, March, and July, the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining has already begun taking the necessary steps to alleviate the effects of the dry period and to brace for the months to come. We are rolling out an immediate and strategic response to safeguard livelihoods and food production because our farmers, quite frankly, cannot afford to wait. First on the front line, Mr. Speaker, is water trucking to aid the hardest hit parishes of St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, and Westmoreland and Hanover. The ministry has already committed $30 million, of which $14 million will be administered by RADA and $16 million by the National Irrigation Commission to accelerate delivery and to ensure that our farmers get the water that they need. We will also be contracting private contractors to help in relation to ensuring that the distribution is done in an accelerated fashion. Beyond this immediate relief, Mr. Speaker, we're investing in sustainable longer-term solutions. We have already started procuring water tanks and drip irrigation kits. In fact, we've earmarked $79 million to procure water tanks and drip irrigation kits to help our farmers. We are partnering with individual farmers and groups of farmers to put in place water catchment areas, and as such, pond liners will be provided, and we've earmarked $17 million to provide pond liners in response to our ongoing dry period. Additionally, $8 million is being earmarked to provide grass mulch, a powerful tool to help our farmers retain soil moisture and to protect crops. This comprehensive response is $134 million that will provide real and tangible benefits to our farmers to aid as we face this ongoing dry period. We also will be partnering with the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, who are stepping up to the plate and providing $30 million to provide additional pond liners. As a direct result of discussions that we've had with Food for the Poor has committed to providing 100 small water pumps, which will be distributed to farmers in targeted production areas. This critical support, we will start the distribution of that, Mr. Speaker, over the next 2 weeks. Mr. Speaker, our response is swift, strategic, and will be fair. We will engage RADA, NIC, AIC, and of course, our members of Parliament to ensure that help reaches the right hands at the right time. Beyond the immediate relief, Mr. Speaker, the ministry has made significant investments in long-term water security for our farmers. We are already better able to face this year's dry period because of the work that we did last year. Over the past year, we've constructed and enhanced 11 catchment and retention ponds in key agricultural areas, including Perth Town in Trelawney, Malvern in St. Elizabeth, Johnsvale in Clarendon, Williamsfield in Manchester, where we've expanded their facilities and provided pond liners. In Hindstown in St. Anne, in addition to a newly constructed catchment pond that was done by the ministry, we have expanded existing catchment areas and fixed leaks that had emerged over the years. We're also almost completed a brand new catchment pond in Newell in St. Mary. In addition to this, we have also distributed 171 irrigation kits and 178 water tanks to farmers to enhance water management and agricultural productivity. Shifting to our market trends and the recovery outlook, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to now give an update on our fruits and vegetables and our farm gate prices and the trends that are shaping our agricultural sector. Over the past month, we have closely monitored the impact of weather patterns and market forces on our farmers and consumers. The data now confirms what we have projected earlier. The market is stabilizing and we are seeing clear signs of recovery. Members, I want us all to commend our farmers, who despite having one of the most challenging years in 2024, based on the plethora of climatic events, continue to go out, show resilience, and are building back our agricultural sector stronger than before. Mr. Speaker, the data speaks for itself. Nearly 70% of vegetables saw price reductions, some by as much as 66%. Among the most notable, green sweet pepper is down 66% in January. Iceberg lettuce is down 44% in January. Salad tomato is down 40% in January. Pak choy is down 22%, yes. And carrots are down 33%. Other vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, romaine lettuce, string beans, and cabbage recorded price drops ranging from 9% to 23%. Our farmers must be commended. There are some fruit lines that continue to be challenged based on the weather patterns. These include our melons and our cantaloupes. However, thankfully, we're seeing an earlier than projected recovery of our banana farmers. Yes, in fact, we had earmarked recovery 9 months from the Hurricane Beryl weather event. Remember, about 70% of our banana crop was completely destroyed. But we are now seeing the reemergence of ripe banana. In fact, planting prices declined by 7% in January, and I think we really should commend the banana board and our banana farmers. Mr. Speaker, when we had our press briefing in December, we had outlined our projections, and it's good to see that our projections are right on the mark. However, Mr. Speaker, it is clear recovery is not happening by chance, but it is a result of the deliberate action by this government to support our farmers build back stronger. I want to commend RADA, I want to commend our banana board, I want to commend all our other agencies who have been working with us to provide critical inputs to help rebuild production capacity and mitigate losses. While adverse weather conditions affect supply over the past year, our interventions have ensured that price surges were kept under control and that stabilization has come faster than in previous years. We will continue to work closely with our farmers to strengthen food security, support production, and keep prices manageable for all Jamaicans. The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining understands the deep challenges our farmers are facing, and we're taking real and tangible steps to support them. We know that water is life for our farmers, and we're making sure that help reaches those who need it the most, whether through water trucking, irrigation solutions, or expanded storage capacity. For this government, farming is our backbone, and we will not allow our farmers to stand alone in this difficult period. We are working, we are responding, we are committed to ensuring that Jamaica's food security remains strong. While the dry conditions may persist, so too will our resolve to protect our farmers, our communities, and our future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, can you say to what extent is the Ministry of Agriculture utilizing renewable energy, in particular solar, to assist in deploying irrigation systems and pumps? Because I know that even when you provide the pump and the facility, the cost of electricity is a major deterrent to many of the farmers. I don't know whether you have explored that. There may be an upfront higher cost, but over the long term, it is more sustainable for those farmers. So if you could give us an indication of that. Secondly, if you could provide also of our irrigatable lands, what percentage, of our agricultural lands, what percentage of them have access to irrigation at this point?
Thank you, member. So yes, in relation to renewable energy, in fact, all our new irrigation systems are going to be powered by renewable energy. So in our Southern Plains Agricultural Program, that is across Parnassus and Amity Hall, where we're doing about 700 hectares that will have now access to water. And in our Essex Valley, which is about 1,200 hectares that will have access to water, we are doing those projects through renewable energy. So as a part of those programs, we do have solar photovoltaic systems that have been put in place and have been used to power those. Additionally, for the old systems that we have, part of the mission over the last 3 years have been to put in renewable energy, and we have a target of about taking off at least 30% of the costs by way of renewable energy. So we've done renewable energy systems in Trelawney, we've done renewable energy systems in St. Catherine, and we've done about 3 in St. Elizabeth, again, moving to ensure that we reduce the cost of producing the water to the farmers. Part of what we are looking at, we've been having discussion with some of our partners, are the smaller water pumps, if we can have those that are powered by renewable energy. And we've been looking at sourcing and the cost, and we do believe that even though the upfront cost is a little higher, it does make more sense. So we're moving in that regard. In relation to the acreages under irrigated water supply. So that has traditionally been a long-standing challenge in Jamaica. In fact, I think when we started the journey, we had less than 10% of our arable agricultural land on the irrigated water supply. We've made significant steps. I think we are now at about 18, so almost doubled. And with what we're doing now in relation to Amity Hall, in relation to Essex Valley, that will move us further. Additionally, what we've done is that what we found is that agri-parks were established, but unfortunately we had agri-parks that the majority of the lands did not have access to irrigated water. So we've been working with JCF, and we have now a project underway in Ebony Park. We're going to be doing something in Yallas that will expand the irrigation network to these agri-parks. And again, if you look at Amity Hall, we're doing now a wonderful reservoir. If you drive down the highway, you will see it when you look to the side, that will bring irrigation to about 300 hectares in that area. So we're moving in the right direction. The Pedro Plains irrigation scheme, which we will break ground for this year, will be our biggest ever irrigation project. And that will move us significantly, because as it is now, Essex Valley is 1,200 hectares, Amity Hall is 700 hectares, Pedro Plains is targeted 3,000 hectares of arable land that will come under irrigated water supply. So that will move us. Clearly, we have a target that we want to reach to at least 30% in another 5 years. Pedro Plains will carry us there in a very big way. We do have projects, and since I'm on my feet, we do have projects that we have already done pre-project phase, especially, and I want to thank the Ministry of Finance, in areas of New Pen, in areas of Hindstone, that we already have and are doing some well drilling now that will bring those areas under irrigated water supply. So this is work in progress. Thank you, member.
Announcements.
Mr. Speaker, laid on the table of the House are the following: annual report and audited financial statements of the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission for the financial year 2014-2015, annual report and audited financial statements of the Water Resources Authority for the financial year 2020-2021, annual report of the National Education Trust for the financial year 2023-2024, annual report of the National Environment and Planning Agency for the financial year 2015-2016, and its related ministry paper numbered 7 of 2025, annual report of the Forestry Department for the financial year 2015-16, and its related ministry paper number 8 of 2025, report of the Special Select Committee on Private Bills on its deliberations on the private bill shortly entitled The International Church of the Four Square Gospel in Jamaica, Incorporation and Vesting Act 2024, the Jamaica Gazette, Supplement Proclamation Rules and Regulations 171, Volume 148, dated Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, number 24, enclosing the Constitution of Jamaica. The Jamaica Gazette, Supplement Proclamation Rules and Regulations 175, Volume 148, dated Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, number 25, enclosing the emergency powers specified area in the parish of St. Catherine, Regulations 2025 under the Emergency Powers Act.
Bills brought from the Senate, petitions, papers, report from committees.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of the House a copy of the report of the Special Select Committee on Private Bills on its deliberations on the private bill shortly entitled The International Church of the Foursquare Gospel in Jamaica, Incorporation and Vesting, Act 2024.
Notices of motion given orally. Question and answers to sorry.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved that the report of the Special Select Committee on Private Bills on its deliberations on private bill shortly entitled The International Church of the Foursquare Gospel in Jamaica, Incorporation and Vesting, Act 2024, which was laid on the table of the House on the 4th day of February 2025, be approved. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move. Be it resolved, with reference to the resolution approved by this Honorable House on the 10th day of December 2024, appointing a select committee to sit jointly with a similar committee appointed by the Honorable Senate to consider and report on the bill shortly entitled the Constitution Amendment Republic Act 2024, that the committee be allowed to hold hybrid meetings that are partly virtual and partly physical, utilizing available information and communication technologies in the manner more specifically outlined below. Preserving the rights, powers, and privileges, including voting rights, normally accorded to a member of a committee. The committee is hereby empowered to 1. Convene and hold meetings in virtual spaces created using information and communication technologies, which shall be considered committee meetings for the purpose of the mandate of the committee. 2. Allow access and participation from remote locations as are enabled by means of information and virtual technologies by members and other persons authorized by the committee. 3. Include members accessing and participating from remote locations as part of its quorum. 4. To receive, consider, deliberate on, and respond to feedback and submissions in formats, modes, and media, and via platforms, modes, and media enabled by means of information and communication technologies from any person. And 5thly, to consider any and all information generated, communicated, and received via formats, platforms, modes, or media as enabled by means of information and communication technologies as forming a part of the record of the committee's meeting. Mr. Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and answers to questions.
Mr. Speaker, there is an answer to questions in the name of the member from Kingston, Eastern, and Port Royal, but the time being 4:19, which is after the 3:15 period stipulated by the standing orders. I beg to move that the member be allowed to ask and have received questions answered during this period. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
The request is on the floor. Those in favor? The request is on the floor. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. At this time, you mean? Not.
Mr. Speaker, would the Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport provide a response to question 6 on the question paper standing in my name?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. A question posed by the member. Can the minister indicate whether there is a policy regarding artificial intelligence in his ministry? Response: there is no existing policy within the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications, Transport for artificial intelligence. However, I'm aware that recommendations from the Artificial Intelligence Task Force were shared with Cabinet, and these recommendations are intended to inform artificial intelligence policy in the short term. Consequently, in keeping with the consultation code, once the policy is at a stage for consultation, it will be shared. Please note that the subject area does not fall within the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunication and Transport's remit. Question 2, which agency in the ministry has responsibility for artificial intelligence? And the response is C, response to question 1 above. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, there was in fact a question 3, which I suspect would provide the same answer as questions 1 and 2, but for good order, the minister, you did not respond to, will the minister consider the establishment of a special committee of this House to consider the implications, both positives and negatives, of artificial intelligence and to make recommendations to the government in relation thereto? As you can see, that was the major point I was trying to get some agreement on.
Thank you, member. And the answer simply would be to see response to question 1 above. The fact is that it does not fall under the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport.
Mr. Speaker, I take it that the leader of government business is taking note on the answers to this question, because artificial intelligence is so crucial to our development that I ought to be able, any member ought to be able to ask and get a substantial response on this issue of artificial intelligence.
So the member is quite correct, and the the question asked of the minister responsible, and in this House, as is known, matters that are carried by ministers in the other place will be taken by the House leader in the main. So if in the new Parliament those questions are put, you can be assured an answer will be provided. But in the instance of a question being directed at the wrong minister here, I think what the minister correctly did was just to put it in order so that you could ask the question appropriately. In fact, I have a similar situation with a member from, but he's saying no, but we are going to review it to ensure that the one question which is left on the order paper to be answered will be dealt with. I intend to have a clean order paper in relation to question and answer to question at the end of this session. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
Motion that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motion relating to the sitting of the House. Motion for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained. Public business.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension of standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
The question is that the standing order be suspended to enable the minister to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. You may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, there are in fact two motions that I gave notice as my intent to take. One related to the tabling of the report of the Special Committee on Private Bills, particularly in reference to the International Church of the Foursquare Gospel in Jamaica Incorporated and Vesting Act 2024, and of course, the one relating to the requirement for the standing orders to be suspended to enable virtual or hybrid meetings to be conducted by Joint Select Committee. I would want to put both before the House at this time, Mr. Speaker, and would seek for this Honorable House to approve both motions, if it pleases you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is that both motion, notice of which the minister gave earlier, be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, it's not intended to do any further business for the day. And I almost felt it a while ago that it's been an exhaustive, if not a long session. But just to indicate that we intend to have another meeting of the House next Tuesday, and that the motion of adjournment, which is in fact no, and I'm moving for that motion as I speak, that the House be adjourned for Tuesday, the 11th of February at 2 p.m. However, to indicate that at that sitting, we will have the motion for the prorogation of the House to be effective on Wednesday, the 12th, at 12:01 a.m. so that the opening, the official opening, ceremonial opening of the House would be on the 13th at 11 a.m. here at George William Gordon House. So, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move for the adjournment of this sitting until Tuesday, February 11th at 2 p.m. at the George William Gordon House. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
The motion for the adjournment of this sitting until February the 11th at 2 p.m. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. This meeting now stands adjourned.